Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to our very first look at Manor Lords, a game coming very soon. This is pre-alpha footage from the game that really promises to be an epic medieval city builder and also army builder. We're going to take a look at the trailer here, and then I'm going to break some things down for you. So if you want to see this game in its entirety on the channel with elements from Foundation, Anno 1800, Ostriv, Banished, and many more, I think this is going to be a game that you're really going to want to keep your eye on. So click or tap that subscribe button, smash like if you're excited for this one. Let's watch the trailer in its entirety, and then we'll come on back and I'll show you some secret footage that can't be found anywhere on YouTube, and we'll see what this game has to offer. Let's go! Wow, really looking like some impressive stuff. Manor Lords coming in fall 2020, as it says on their Steam page, and I wanted to share some additional video with you before we reanalyze the trailer, though it is great to see elements of city building and also RTS in the same game. Not a lot of games where we can actually build like a fully functioning city or society, or in this case like a kingdom, and then of course go to war with other factions around us in such detail. Wanted to take a look here at the building aspects of the game. Here's some sped up footage from the developer's Twitter, and it's really cool to see buildings built this detailed before. Instead of a building just coming up out of the ground, instead of a building just kind of like materializing or, you know, some weird construction to it, it really reminds me a lot of the details in games like Ostriv or in Foundation, where every piece of a building is moved into position. So there's a lot of care in this game. It's not just a, hey, build the tanner, hey, build a farm. It seems like it might require a lot of the materials. The Steam page for this says that it's an up-and-coming medieval strategy game for PC that combines deep, organic, realistic city building with large-scale tactical battles. I mean, that is literally like peanut butter and chocolate. That's like potatoes and gravy. That's like McDonald's and even more McDonald's. Whatever you want to say, it's the best of both worlds. Let's take a look now at the military combat, where things are looking really promising. We see what looks to be a very detailed UI and very detailed troops. Look at that combat. The animations look wonderful, and this is on par with many of the other RTS games that we're looking forward to. And think about this. Every one of those soldiers could have been growing up in your kingdom, and all the weapons that they have could have been manufactured by your order. So instead of just getting random troops over a certain amount of time, every bow, every spear, all these troops with their armor could be made by you. And it'd be great to see more things in this game, such as siege weapons and also cavalry. But just look at the detail on all these troops. That's incredible battle damage, blood, and for a game that's a city builder, this is some pretty intense detail for a game that's also an RTS. It's very, again, rare to see something like this balanced in such a way, but if the combat is good as the city building, and if the city building is good as the combat, look at that. Everything looks just so detailed and incredible on the field of battle, and in the city as well. And speaking of the city, this is a city builder, so that is the bread and butter of this type of game style, and it looks beautiful. All those trees laid out. I love the freeform road in the background, which really reminds me of things like City Skylines or SimCity, where you can first lay out the roads and then lay the industries next to them. Looks like there's also policy making in this game, so obviously we'll be able to set up things like trade and maybe add types of different things relating to like ration consumption and goods usage and what we're trading and priorities and prices maybe at the market. And of course, that'll all be set at the administration building, where of course first we need to build a city in order to build that. So things like, for example, logging and also mining will be very important for stone. Here we see a tannery, where of course medieval times a tannery was used to make all sorts of different types of things, but of course we could see leather armor and such for our troops later, or it could be sold for other types of goods, things like making straps and tie downs and whatnot. And it's really cool to see a full animation from a worker actually working at this building, such as this really is just looking to be more like a advanced version of Banished. I mean, we're starting to see all of the animations for things like marketplaces, and of course wagons will come through town bringing goods from here to there. And I'm really hoping this game gets into the level of detail where we literally need to raise the donkeys and the horses and build the carts and do all the things like the cooperage in order to build barrels and in order to smelt down iron, in order to make all sorts of different things, everything from weaponry to even things like this, the beekeepers, who of course will then be able to make wax for candles and honey in order to provide it for sustenance or for trade or whatnot. Seems like a good resource. But of course all that comes from cutting down trees and literally making logs into lumber. And of course there is a season cycle in this game too. Check it out. The first snow we see with a building in the background. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be just like Banished. It's going to be just like Ostriv. All those games I've been playing on this channel are now coming together into a game that is just unimaginable. This is why I had to make this video. I'm just beyond excited to see all of the detail in this one. Alright, well this is finally the moment I've been most excited to cover, which is a reanalysis of the trailer. Obviously hunting is going to play a big part in this game, and being in nature too, so it seems like we're just basically starting in the middle of nowhere and having to build everything out of nothing. Some basic homes being seen in the background, but the construction looks beautiful. And look at that road building, on par with what I was hoping for too. And it feels like putting down every building is like snapping a building into place in Anno 1800. And I absolutely love the construction of the buildings, where it seems like they're so detailed and so simple, yet very, very complex in terms of every resource having to be delivered. And speaking of resources, we see things like meat being transported around, and of course farming with the oxen, and of course the well, we have sheep there too, but of course a mill, and there's our seasonal cycles. A very brief look at that, but also the military. Very cool to see that. I'm really impressed with the developers' ability to bring in two different areas in such complexity. It seems like there's always one that's lacking a little bit. Like when you're, for example, playing a game where it's more of an RTS, there's basic city management where you can maybe order walls to be built or a farm to be built, but you never really get to place exactly where. And in this game, and in some games, actually, I should say, there's also, you build an army and you send it out, but you never actually get to see the army in combat. And now finally in Manor Lords, you get to do both of those. To be the Lord of the Manor is awesome. All right, let's go ahead and break this trailer down a little bit more, and I want to take a look at some more specific areas of it. One of the most important aspects in a city builder game is how the buildings come together, and I've praised the detail of this game multiple times, but the fact that you can see the stonework, the scaffolding, and all the roof pieces go up on the Lord's Manor, which would arguably be one of the most important buildings in the kingdom, this building gets a lot of love. But also, other buildings get a lot of love too. We've seen the houses come together where every log, every stone, every small piece of the village is very important, which means that every action of your people is incredibly critical to their survival. So if we're trying to survive the brutal winters, that means that we're going to have to gather a ton of firewood, a ton of logs in order to make our roofs and of course survive that brutal winter. And to prepare for it, we see our people gathering food, and that of course means that we can get all sorts of different goods from that food. Like for example, we can get the meat from harvesting those animals, but then of course also the leather, which would allow us to build maybe something to plow the fields, and then eventually use that grain in order to sell with the neighbors. Look at how beautiful this game is. There's so many things we can do. Animal husbandry was seen. All these buildings look gorgeous. There's such attention to detail and really the realism, and I'm hoping hardcore survival to this game as well. Not only are we trying to fight enemies, but also fight the elements in order to try to survive. And of course, winter is coming, so that means everything needs to be gathered up. And I just love how all these buildings look. I hope we get a different number of styles to choose from. It looked like some of the earlier buildings that were triangular shaped were just smaller survival huts, but it looks like buildings over time will get a little bit more and more sturdy. Perhaps we can use stone to build homes and things like that. But what really blew me away around this trailer, and I'm sure for you guys, is the military military. Ambition of the military plus city builder is incredible. The game advertised itself as a medieval real-time strategy city builder, but I'm starting to think I see as much detail in the military aspect of the game as the city building aspect of the game. The ability to make formations and to have all these different types of troops. It's not just, you know, bowmen and spearmen and swordsmen, though that's what we've been seeing so far. I've also been seeing varying amount of armor for all the people, and that's really promising. So one of the things that I'm thinking about for this game is, will we see multiplayer? Yeah, 2 factions on left and right. Are we going to be able to battle it out with our friends, or perhaps maybe build our own castles and invade their lands? Do battles take place just only in the field, or do we actually get to deploy our troops outside of the enemy's cities and eventually raid them? Can we build walls? What types of things can we do? Can we have a navy at some point? That would be interesting to see, but it is just beautiful to see these troops come together. I want to see this over and over again when troops clash, of course. It just looks so interesting and cool to see all the aspects to put your troops into square formation, line formation, and then have them come together under arrow fire. Look at all that combat. Battle damage to all of the troops just looks incredible. If they can balance city building and military combat, this might be our answer to the lack of the game Stronghold. It's been a long time since we've seen a Stronghold game that has been on this level of realism. This almost feels like Stronghold 1, but with a more modern vibe, really. And I'm hoping to see a campaign. I'm hoping to see multiplayer. I mean, there's just nothing but hopes and dreams now. And just look at those troops come down the hill. I see axes. I'm wondering if we're going to see cavalry, like I mentioned, siege weapons too. It'd be really cool if we could actually lay traps on walls, like, for example, pitch, so that way troops can light that ablaze. And it would just be cool to see if there's castle sieges in this game as well. Perhaps City Builder Bannerlord, perhaps a more advanced Banished, perhaps Stronghold, perhaps a more realistic version of Foundation, where it looks more brutal and realistic. All of that could be waiting for us in Manor Lords. I'm really hoping that this game comes out soon. Fall 2020, add it to your Steam wish list. I don't know what else to say other than that I need to see more from this developer. So, you guys have been awesome. Thank you very much for subscribing. I just wanted to give a heads up on this one, because this could be a amalgamation of just so many games that I want to play. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.